set, hut, hut.
As the hills of West Virginia resound with the sounds of Golden Blue football.
Almost heaven, West Virginia.
Now let's bring on the Mountaineers. Goes around about the 50 to 10 to 5. A touchdown, West Virginia. He did it.
He did it. Patrick White. Touchdown, Tavon Austin.
But Don Nehlen's Mountaineers enjoy walking in where angels feared to tread.
I think you think that these guys are going to fall over dead for you. Well, I got news for you. They're going to punch you right in the mouth. It's Mountaineer pride.
Nothing cheap, nothing dirty, but West Virginia football. West Virginia football.
We've no doubt tonight they shouldn't have played the old Golden Blue. Not this night.
They've done it. They've done it. A perfect season. And the Mountaineers, for the first time in history, undefeated and untied.
Don Nehlen and his Mountaineers, for the second time, have finished a regular season with an unblemished mark.
Ain't no stopping the Golden Blue.
It is a great night to be a Mountaineer wherever you may be.
What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome back into another live stream here on the Country Roads webcast, May 19th edition, and we've got some WVU football topics to talk about, and we have a transfer portal update and a recruiting update to talk about on the WVU basketball side of things, plus some other odds and ends there as we hit some news and notes for both sports. So it'll be a joint show here. We'll talk football in the front half. I got an exciting update there on one of the most impactful transfers West Virginia brought in as ESPN dropped their top 100 transfers list for the upcoming college football season, in West Virginia represented on there, both with a former Mountaineer that's on the list and an incoming player that's on the list, and one that I was really excited about when he signed last transfer portal cycle, and that, of course, is Jamori Robinson. We'll talk about that here at the beginning. Got also some fun comments from Rich Rod yet again. We shared some comments that he had with the College Game Day podcast on one of our previous streams. Now he was on the Triple Option podcast, which is kind of the podcast of the guys that do the Big Noon Kickoff show. So hitting both kind of pregame show podcasts there. Had some really good things to say on this show as well. So we'll share some of his nice sentiments there from that podcast. So that's what we got on the football side. Then on the basketball side, got a new transfer target as we were waiting more updates there as they try and complete the roster on the basketball side. And a potential high school recruit that West Virginia has been in the mix for has announced his commitment date, and that's going to be coming tomorrow. So we'll talk about that as well. So a couple of things to talk about. Then we got a little scheduling note on the basketball side as well. So that's what's kind of on the docket for this one. Appreciate you guys that are tuned into this one live, whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch. Those of you that are there on Facebook or Twitch, be sure to come over to the Country Roads Webcast YouTube channel. Subscribe here so you can get the pre-recorded videos and podcast episodes in addition to these live streams. But those of you that are watching on YouTube, whether live or on the playback, you can help us out by hitting that thumbs up button. Help us out with that crazy YouTube algorithm. Help this video find more Mountaineer fans like yourself. And if you are one of those that hasn't yet, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Stay up to date on what goes on in WVU football world and WVU basketball, and definitely the roster building of both of those sports as we keep you up to date with the transfer portal movement. Speaking of transfer portal movement, that's a great segue into what I want to lead the show off with here, some really positive news, because, it wasn't that long ago, West Virginia in that first transfer portal cycle, at the end of it, I went and did a podcast episode talking about the superlatives, where I went through and named some superlatives for the transfer signings. I did the biggest impact edition on offense and defense. I did a diamond in the rough edition, and then I did my top 5 favorite editions. And I plan to do something similar here soon for this transfer portal class that just wrapped up in this transfer portal window. But funny enough, I thought that this was the case, and I went back to confirm it. I looked at my transfer signing superlatives from that first portal window, and I did have Jamori Robinson as my biggest impact addition on the defensive side, and I had him as my number 1 favorite addition there in that first portal cycle. And so I think that tells the tale. And if you go back and watch my video when he committed to WVU, how excited I was that we landed him one of the best, pass rushers that was left in the portal, a conference player of the year last year in college football that, only has the extra year of eligibility because of the JUCO ruling and the Diego Pavia case. So West Virginia really, got lucky to land Jamori Robinson in multiple ways there, both with him having the eligibility and then, of course, beating out the other suitors to get him. I was super excited when we landed him. I had him, high on that transfer signing superlative list I did. So you guys know I've been raving about him. So not only do you get to hear it from me now, though, but how about him nationally already getting some respect here prior to the season? I think that this is good to see. ESPN drops their transfer portal rankings of the top transfer portal players for the upcoming college football season. They did a list of the top 100 transfers for the 2025 season. And there it is, Jamori Robinson in the top 70, which I'm very excited that we have someone on the list, not even lonely in the top 100, but in the top 70. Personally, I think he could make more of an impact than that. And we'll read a little bit what ESPN has to say about him here. But just as a refresher, coming from UTSA, where he was the Defensive Player of the Year last year in that American Conference there at UTSA, 1 year of eligibility remaining, like we said, because of that JUCO ruling there. 6'4", 265-pounder, probably would have been selected in the NFL draft. I believe I heard that he had, a top 5 round draft grade, wanted to improve that. That's one reason he decided to use this extra year of eligibility, would like to get in that, first 2 or 3 rounds. And he definitely has the potential to be able to do that with what he's done as a pass rusher, what he's done all 4 years there, playing the defensive end, playing the edge there. In college football already. Look at his background here. A former JUCO transfer, joined UTSA in 2021 and steadily developed into a star over his 4 seasons in the program. The veteran edge defender earned Defensive Player of the Year honors in the AAC last season after producing a conference-high 43 pressures, 17 TFLs, and 10.5 sacks. Let me say that one more time. 17 TFLs and 10.5 sacks, and he was the Defensive Player of the Year in the AAC last year. According to ESPN's research, Robinson had the second best edge pressure rate among FBS starters at 19%, only behind Abdul Carter, who we just saw get selected in the first round of the NFL draft. He's back for 1 extra season thanks to the Pavia ruling. He'll be a 25-year-old senior this fall. So a veteran has proven that he can do it with great talent, great production, even a conference player of the year. And, you look at his numbers there in the analytics, and he's measuring up to guys like Abdul Carter. So you see why I was so excited about Jamori Robinson, and you see why he's on this top 100 list. And then they go on further here to say what he brings to West Virginia. They say Robinson is arguably the biggest gem of the Mountaineers' massive roster rebuild this offseason under Coach Rich Rodriguez. He represents a critically important portal win for this program and should quickly emerge as one of the Big 12's most effective pass rushers in 2025. Should quickly emerge as one of the Big 12's most effective pass rushers. You love to hear that. This gets you super excited about Jamori Robinson. Definitely wanted to highlight that. You guys have heard me rave about him in the past, but I was happy to see him get some praise nationally as well, and for West Virginia's transfer class to continue to be recognized. We've talked about how highly it's rated on Rivals. Now ESPN, who rarely throws West Virginia any love, throwing us a little bit of love here, showing Jamori Robinson, giving him some flowers here in their transfer portal rankings. So West Virginia shows up there. But how about a former Mountaineer on the list as well? Thought this was interesting that you see right up here, just 5 spots above Jamori Robinson, which I don't know. I think that's debatable. I think Robinson may have more of an impact, but nonetheless, C.J. Donaldson, the former West Virginia running back, is on here at 65, of course, transferring to Ohio State. They say he was under the radar get out of Miami for the Mountaineers. We know he signed to play tight end. Started playing running back as a freshman, rushed for over 2,000 yards and 31 touchdowns in his 3 seasons at WVU. They say that he brings to Ohio State that they must replace the second-round draft picks Judkins and Henderson at the running back spot and have a lot of blue-chip talent competing for carries. But Donaldson could be a great complement to sophomore James Peoples and will have an opportunity to play a significant role for the defending national champs. So C.J. Donaldson on the list as well. So you have a former Mountaineer on the list and wish C.J. Donaldson the best heading to Ohio State. But more, pertinent for us here as Mountaineer fans is Jamori Robinson getting some love here, as he should. Like I said, one of the best pass rushers in the portal, was a great pickup for West Virginia, and now being recognized as one of the top transfers in all of college football. Pretty awesome stuff there. So I wanted to talk about that there on the football side. And then, of course, I want to get to Rich Rod's comments from the show there, the Triple Option Show, the podcast that he was on a couple, highlight comments there that I thought really stood out, but the whole interview was really good. I'll try and link it in the video description. And maybe, you guys on the audio side to listen there will have to come over to YouTube if you want to get a link to the full podcast appearance there for Rich Rod, but we'll share a couple of clips from it. Other than that, on the football side, I did want to share this because someone had pointed out in the comments to me. Previously, we had shared NCAA Football Nation highlighting Nico Marchiol, and we talked a bit about West Virginia's quarterback battle. They also highlighted Jalen Henderson, the other quarterback there competing with Nico. We think it's going to be a fun competition to watch there on a roster that's going to be full of fun position battles to watch here in fall camp. But of course, they have Jalen Henderson on breakout watch. They say if Henderson can beat out Nico Marchiol for the QB1 spot in Morgantown, then he should be in line for a big breakout season. In his career, he's thrown for 764 yards, 6 touchdowns versus only 2 picks, while completing nearly 68% of his passes, which is maybe the most impressive number here that you see. He's also rushed for 170 yards and 2 touchdowns. As we know, he can be explosive with his legs. So wanted to highlight that as well as we continue to try and highlight both quarterbacks as they receive praise here, because I think both are going to factor into this competition. But with that being said, the last thing here on the football side, then we'll transition, talk a little bit of basketball. But let's highlight a couple of comments here from Rich Rod. The first one kind of hammering home something that got me really excited when we highlighted his appearance on the ESPN College Game Day podcast. And that's him yet again talking about his year one goals here at WVU and, sharing similar sentiments to what he did on the previous show. So let's check this out here.
But every year is different. Arizona State went from last to first last year, and we'll be picked somewhere near the bottom. I don't say we're going to be first, but there's going to be. It's not there was one team that's just going to dominate. I think it's going to be kind of wide open and probably going to be that way for a couple of years. So our expectation is to win and compete for the championship every year, including our first year. This will be the hardest year without question. The hardest year is the first year, but that being said, the Big 12 is pretty wide open, I think.
So there you hear it yet again. What got me so excited the first time he mentioned on the ESPN College Game Day podcast, mentions it yet again. Their year one goal, it's going to be tough. He says, to do in year one, of course, but it's not impossible. We've seen teams do it. He talked about Arizona State doing it in year two. You look in the Big Ten, Indiana did it in year one. But their goal, at least you like that they're, aiming high. They've talked a lot about winning, and they continue to talk about competing for Big 12 championships, and they're going to try and do that here in year one. You love to hear that from Coach Rod. And then, a little bit more on the fun side of things here. This is just the very tail end of the interview, kind of the last thing that's mentioned here, but it's one that'll get you excited as well because yet again, it's something that continues to be brought up, of course, that September 13th date, that big game in the backyard brawl against Pitt. I think it's just such poetic justice, such the universe kind of aligning, the stars aligning, whatever you want to call it, that Rich Rod's first year back, West Virginia's playing WVU. West Virginia's playing WVU. West Virginia's playing Pitt at home, and the day that they're playing them is September 13th, 9/13. That's almost beyond coincidence that it lined up that way. But nonetheless, here's Rich Rod's thoughts on that game.
Well, we appreciate your time, Coach.
I want to throw one date at you. September 13th this year.
Yeah, each
week
hit
3.
Yeah, each hit Pitt. Pitt's, I say too many 4-letter words. There's none that's worse than PITT.
Oh. Eat shit, Pitt.
This is why I love college football. This is why I love having Rich Rod back and in our domain and in the Big 12. And Coach, you've been an absolute pleasure to cover and watch.
Yeah, man. You got to love it. It's never going to fail to make me smile every time he says that. And couldn't agree more, right? Nothing else needs to be said. Eat shit, Pitt, man. Eat shit, Pitt. Can't get here soon enough. Of course, we got 2 games before that one, but I know everyone's got that one circled, including Rich Rod, it seems, as he's continued to mention that. So exciting comments there. Like I said, I'll try and link that full podcast appearance there for Rich Rod in the video description as he continues to make the rounds nationally and share some things that really continue to get the fans riled up here, get hype for that start of the Rich Rod 2.0 era. So excited about that and really excited about Jamori Robinson, who's rated highly, right? And why is he rated highly? Because he's been productive. He's produced on the field. That's why, he's won a Defensive Player of the Year award. That's why he's now rated as a top 100 transfer in college football, because of his production. And if you want to be productive like Mr. Robinson, no better way to do it, of course, than with our friends over at Magic Mind. The mental performance shot, guys, we cannot speak highly enough about. Great addition to your daily routine, get you mentally focused, clear, motivated, ready to produce, all while reducing stress. And you also can get over 100% of your daily vitamin C and D in each bottle. It's not a coffee replacement. No worries. You guys know how I love my coffee, and I've been using Magic Mind along with it for a while now. Only helps improve the benefits of that coffee because of the time-released caffeine that you have inside of the Magic Mind. So, a lot of times you get that quick burst and then you start lagging throughout the day. The way Magic Mind is designed, it gives you caffeine throughout the day, not just that first time when you initially take it. It helps you, hours later. Also, not only does it help you, it can help others as they donate 5 cents for each bottle sold to mental health charities that help the U.S. homeless communities. It's 100% carbon neutral, and it's no risk to you. They offer you 100% refund, no questions asked, within 100 days of your purchase if you're not satisfied. But that's not going to happen. Trust me, I can guarantee you that much. They ship it internationally. And of course, you can get it with a discount here from us at the CRW. Limited time offer, of course, but you can get 48% off that first subscription. Or if you just want to try it, you can get 20% off a one-time purchase. Just head to magicmind.com/CRWAPR and use that code CRWAPR at checkout to claim that discount. Promise you guys, your mind will thank you for it, and you'll probably be almost as productive as Jamori Robinson. I don't know. I think you can get there, and if you can get there, Magic Mind will take you there. So be sure to check it out there. MagicMind.com. Use the code CRWAPR at checkout, guys. So with that being said, speaking of production, West Virginia continues to try and search for production. Why as they ran out that roster on the basketball side, definitely going to have some more transfers come in. They're going to try and get someone from the high school ranks as well. So with that being said, let's talk about each of those guys now here. Let's talk a little WVU basketball, and I will get some of your all's comments here before we wrap up. Following that, appreciate you guys that are tuned in here, YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch. And those of you that are listening after the fact on the audio side there, you can find us on any podcast platform. If you're listening on the podcast side, leave us a rating. That helps us out a lot. You guys on Facebook and Twitch, be sure to come over to the YouTube channel and subscribe. And if you're watching here on YouTube, whether live or on the playback, hit the thumbs up button. Help us out with that YouTube algorithm. So on the WVU basketball side of things, we know West Virginia still has to round out this roster. They certainly have, in my opinion, what seems to be kind of the starters and the key reserves, but you still need other guys that are going to play reserve roles for you, get spot minutes for you, help you out throughout the season. And so we've been waiting to see, some more names be added to the transfer target list. And we finally have another one here, guys, that we can talk about. And it's another guard. And I think that's good to see. I think West Virginia needs a reserve point guard. I think they need a reserve big man, which more on that momentarily. But as far as the guard is concerned, one that they're targeting right now that we got to talk about is Orlando Horton Jr. from Prairie View A&M. And of course, this broke on social media recently. Let me share the tweet that linked West Virginia with Orlando Horton Jr., and hopefully the Mountaineers are going to get him in on a visit here in the near future. As Tobias Bass reported, since entering the portal, Orlando Horton Jr. has heard from the following schools. He told The Athletic. I see multiple names there, but of course, West Virginia on the list, along with Oklahoma State there at the bottom. You see the picture there, which of course you saw him on the thumbnail of this video. But as far as some statistics here for Mr. Horton Jr., let's pull it up, talk a little bit about his game, as you would be looking at a potential backup point guard here and a guy with multiple years of eligibility remaining as well. Sophomore, 5'11", 152 from the state of Texas. So maybe that's the potential connection with someone on this staff. Of course, we know this whole staff came from North Texas. So that's definitely a potential there. But 6 points, 2 rebounds, nearly 3 assists per game, shot 39% from the field, nearly 39% from the three-point range. So yet again, a guy right there on that 40% border from the three-point line. We've seen West Virginia add some absolute snipers in this transfer portal class. This would be another good one that can shoot the basketball. Orlando Horton also greatly improved his free throw percentage, now nearly an 80% free throw shooter. I like his 1.5 steal number there on the defensive side. Certainly shows that he could probably fill in Ross Hodges system there as we're talking basketball now. And you see that here as well. You look at one of his games here against Florida A&M, 4 steals in that game and a couple other games where he had a couple of steals as well. The more he played, the better that he did. That game he had 27 minutes, 8 points, 7 assists, 4 steals. So did get it done when he had the action there. And of course, he would be someone that would not only help you as a reserve guard this season, but the multiple years of eligibility could help you in the future as well. So definitely going to be keeping an eye on Orlando Horton Jr., who we have added to our transfer target list here on the basketball side, which let's pull up our transfer portal tracker here one more time, because in addition to the new addition there to the transfer target list in Orlando Horton Jr., we also need to talk about here Abraham Oyedir. We know West Virginia needs a reserve big man. I still think they'll probably go out and add one in the portal, but Abraham Oyedir may be a candidate to be one of your reserve big men now that gets you a couple minutes here or there. Maybe he plays 5 to 7 minutes per game if he ends up on the roster, because it has been reported, multiple places now that he has left the transfer portal. He's no longer in the portal, which means, he can now no longer transfer anywhere else. So he's either not playing basketball or he's going to be back at WVU. I would definitely think it's going to probably be the latter there, and he's going to be at WVU, and it kind of fits with what West Virginia needs here, needing some reserve big men. Maybe you bring Oyedir in here, a guy you can develop, and if you play him, a couple minutes here or there, in a couple of games, that's going to help his development and help you, rest Obioha, rest your other bigs at times. And he gives you some size, and he's another body that can help you in practice as well. So Oyedir leaves the transfer portal. Maybe he'll be on West Virginia's roster, and we're going to keep an eye on Orlando Horton Jr. as well. So that's kind of the transfer portal side of the update I had here for basketball. But additionally, we still have to talk a little bit of recruiting, because there is some recruiting news here as West Virginia continues to try and round out this roster. We know they've brought in a top 100 recruit in this class already with the recent addition of Jaden Forsythe. They also have DJ Thomas. So they do have 2 freshmen that will be joining this roster. But there's been another really talented guy that West Virginia, of course, had committed back before the coaching change. He's a West Virginia native, originally from Beckley, then played at Huntington Prep. And he's not committed yet. Just was a week or 2 ago when we were last talking about him. I'll be honest, I felt like West Virginia was out of the running. I thought that it was, done and over. West Virginia wouldn't be landing Braden Hawthorne. But now here lately, it seems like that steam is picking up, that West Virginia is maybe very much back into the mix. And we'll find out for sure in short order, less than 24 hours from now, as it was announced today that Braden Hawthorne, who is not only would be another top 100 recruit, but the number 33 overall recruit in the 2025 class, according to 247. So nearly a top 30 recruit in the nation. West Virginia in the mix for. Also, of course, Virginia Tech in the mix because of the Chester Frazier connection. That's kind of who was his guy. That's why you see VT getting involved here late in the process, as he's visited since decommitting from WVU. He's visited WVU again. He's visited VT. He's visited Spit, Kentucky, and Puke. He's visited Duke as well. But he will be announcing live tomorrow, which that's the wrong date there. Tomorrow, Tuesday is actually 5/20. Today's the 19th, so that should say Tuesday, May 20th. But that's when he's announcing tomorrow on YouTube on the 247 Sports Channel, 7 p.m. Eastern, deciding between Kentucky, Duke, Pitt, West Virginia, and VT. And like I said, if this was a week or 2 ago, I would say we stood next to no shot. But here lately, there's been some reports coming out. I think I saw Voice of Morgantown talking about it. I think Mountaineer Paul over Locked On was talking about it, that there has been some smoke that West Virginia has came in late and maybe up to their offer and, up to what kind of money they're able to give to Braden Hawthorne. Because I thought that's kind of why one reason we were out of the mix is not only because the Blue Bloods getting involved with Duke and Kentucky, but because of the money they were throwing around, and with us being so late in this process and already, giving some of our top transfer portal guys a lot of money, that we wouldn't have enough to be able to match or give Braden Hawthorne a good offer. But it sounds like West Virginia may be, battling right there neck and neck in terms of the NIL offer anyways. So we'll see where everything else stands. Playing time, I believe, is something that he's looking for as well. I don't know, if some of these other programs would be able to offer him maybe a starting role. I wouldn't think so at Duke. Pitt probably could. VT probably could. I don't think he'd be a starter at West Virginia, but he would be a key reserve if he's not a starter, maybe even a sixth man type of guy. So I think he would see plenty of minutes, so maybe we're involved there as well. But not only has it been reported from West Virginia sources, but, I heard it through the grapevine that, known college basketball insider Trilly Donovan has also said that West Virginia is very much in the mix here with it coming down to a decision. I think he said, he would put West Virginia and Kentucky as the favorites now. I'm not 100% sure. Like I said, I just heard that in passing from someone else. I believe he was talking about it on his paid Discord, which I'm not subscribed to, but Trilly Donovan's talking about it. No one's probably more plugged in as far as the college basketball insider than Trilly Donovan. So, just when we thought we were out of the Braden Hawthorne mix, he pulls us back in, right? So excited about that West Virginia has a chance here at Braden Hawthorne. So let's keep our fingers crossed tomorrow, and we'll tune in tomorrow evening and see what happens. I'll try and do a live stream tomorrow night yet again if I can, and report on this. And hopefully it's good news for the Mountaineers. We'll see where he lands. But West Virginia in the mix for, a top recruit in college basketball, which would be an absolutely huge addition to the roster. If this ends up going West Virginia's way, I think you put Braden Hawthorne right up there with, Honor Huff, Trace and Eagle staff, some of your top transfer additions. He would be a big addition, coming in as a freshman here. Of course, the number 33 overall player in the country tells you that, and some of the other the names in the mix for him tell you that as well. So we'll see what happens. But Braden Hawthorne deciding tomorrow, and sounds like West Virginia more in the mix than I previously thought. I still wouldn't give West Virginia probably more than a 40% chance, but hey, we'll see. I don't think it's, 50-50 with anyone else or anything. I still don't feel the best about it. I don't know why. I don't really have any reason to give you there other than just kind of a bad gut feeling, or maybe it's just me not wanting to get my hopes up too much about it because I felt so much like it wasn't a possibility a couple of weeks ago. But hey, I'd love to be wrong about this one. I'd love to see Braden Hawthorne stay in West Virginia, commit to the Mountaineers tomorrow night. We'll see what happens, but we'll keep an eye on him. We're keeping an eye on Orlando Horton Jr. as well, as far as the transfer portal and recruiting news is concerned. The only other thing that I had here is a couple of scheduling tidbits, one of which we've covered previously, that being the Charleston Classic, the tournament West Virginia is going to compete in. It's just now been officially confirmed by the university in a press release last week or so. But it'll be Friday, November 21st when that tournament starts, and Sunday, November 23rd. And of course, the field will be Clemson, Georgia Tech, West Virginia, and Xavier. So those will be the teams that West Virginia could potentially be matched up against. I'm hoping to see West Virginia play Clemson because I got a good friend that's a Clemson fan. I think that would be fun for us to be able to watch that game together, go back and forth, talk a little smack and whatnot. But that's one scheduling note that we know of, as we're continuing to have things leaked here. Another one that's not yet official, but could be in the works, is Ohio State and West Virginia, according to Rocco Miller. Put this out on social media, and he says from multiple sources, a neutral site game on December 13th at Rocket Arena in Cleveland could happen. We saw this, happen, what was it, 4 years ago, I think now. West Virginia, Ohio State played. They've done this a couple of times in the past. I would love to see this game be played again. Not yet officially finalized, but that's another one that's in the works as we continue to try and learn about the WVU basketball schedule. The only other one, of course, that we know of for 100% certain is the Backyard Brawl, which will be November 13th. So we know the Backyard Brawl super early in the season. Then we got that Charleston Classic tournament. And then, of course, maybe playing Ohio State in December as well. But that's all we know of for the WVU basketball schedule thus far. As we'll continue to have news on that come out. As more news does come out, I'll report on that further here on the channel, as I'll continue to cover the transfer portal movement, where we're keeping our eyes on Orlando Horton Jr. And, of course, all eyes on the 247 Sports YouTube channel tomorrow night to see where Braden Hawthorne lands as West Virginia apparently back in the mix there. So that's what I had on the basketball side to follow up the football updates there. Other than that, I'm going to catch up on some of y'all's comments, and we will call it a show here. But let me take a swig of my water, and then I'll do just that before we wrap up here. All right. Trey Edwards says, CRW while watching Raw. Doesn't get much better than that. I appreciate that, Trey Edwards, channel member here of the CRW channel. Always appreciate you, Trey. And hey, I'm going to have to go back and watch Raw. I forgot about Monday Night Raw tonight. He also says, really hope we get Hawthorne back. You and me both, brother. Got my fingers crossed on that one. Tina Ty says, let's go Mountaineers. Appreciate you tuning in and chiming in, Tina. Channel member Tosh Miller, appreciate you, Tosh, as I've had to have watched 5 or more Rich Rod interviews since he came back, and they all seem like he says the same thing every time. Yeah, he does have certain quotes that you definitely hear repeated in several of them. You know, the one about the years of experience, the one about players needing to know why they do things. You know, there's a few things that he says that are repetitive, but in between those few things that are, you know, kind of rehearsed answers to questions that I guess he knows he's going to get in most of these interviews, I think he's also left some really good tidbits here and there, but there definitely are those rehearsed things that you've heard multiple times if you continue to watch all of these interviews as he's made the rounds nationally. Tosh, I do know what you're talking about there for sure. Hey, eat shit Pitt. That's right, Trey. Just like Coach Rod said. Eric Flowers says, I'm feeling we get Hawthorne tomorrow night. Hey, I hope you're right, Eric. Got my fingers crossed, man. Got my fingers crossed. Glad you have a good feeling. You have a better feeling about it than I do, as you just heard me share there previously. Hey, speaking of my friend that's a Clemson fan, look at him popping up in the chat there on the Facebook side. My guy, Mikey. Y'all give him hell. Tell him 70-33 or something there in the chat. But hopefully Clemson and West Virginia do get to play in that preseason tournament, bro. I appreciate you always, though, Mikey, tuning in, even though you are a damn Clemson fan. Drumwolf62 says CJ will enjoy sitting on the bench at Ohio State. I doubt if he'll get to play much at Ohio State. I think that, I think he's got a chance there, man. I don't know if he'll be the, key starter, but I think he'll be, they had the 2-back system last year. I think he's going to be a part of that 2-back system this year. Don't sleep on CJ. He's also lost about 20 pounds, gotten a little bit faster. He's going to have a role there at Ohio State for sure, man. I think so. Drumwolf also says, love the shirt. Where did you get it? The NIL shop was running a promotion. Once Rich Rod first got hired, they even offered free shipping and a discount with some codes. They had the hard edge shirt. They had the spot the ball shirts, the hold the rope shirts. I got one of all 3 of those. I think they had a bring back glossy helmet shirt. Steven got that one, I know for sure. I think we both got the hold the rope one, but they had several there. And I think it's nilshop.com. Drumwolf, I believe is what it's called. And you just got to go to West Virginia if they still have them running there. That's where it was there. So I'm rocking the hard edge shirt for you guys listening on the audio side, which is my favorite of the 3 personally. Hey, channel member Big Dan T, always enjoy seeing you, man. Eat shit pit, he says, and share some of the custom emojis. Don Johnson, appreciate you tuning in, chiming in. Says, I'm thankful that we have 2 quarterbacks that are winners. Don't sleep on this team. Great coaches, great talent. I will not be against the Mountaineers. Hey, that's right, Don. Great problem to have is that we have 2 really good, capable quarterbacks. I think we have a really strong quarterback room, and we're going to have a lot of fun position battles to watch, leading up to the season at least, right? Drumel62, no, the Magic Mind does not affect your sleep, actually. Has not ever affected mine. I go to sleep at night just fine. But they also offer a Magic Mind sleep now as well that helps you there to go to sleep at night. So, you can get either one you want there when you head to the site, and you can use our code CRW APR for either one of those. But no, doesn't affect your sleep at all, man. Hasn't affected me negatively there at all. Eric Flowers said, I think we won't have to worry about QB1 to QB2, and they probably will be switched around to utilize which is stronger in certain situations. Rich Rod is all about trying to win. Yeah, I'm not ruling out that 2 QB system at times either, Eric. It definitely could happen. We've seen it before. We could see it again. Both those guys are very capable. Eric says, I think all WVU teams should adopt the hard edge moniker. Be badass for women's basketball too. I couldn't agree more. I love the hard edge mentality, right? Not only what it does for our football program, but I think it's good, as a lifestyle trait there, something to use in life as well, is that hard edge mentality. Kind of similar to that Mamba mentality that people talk about with Kobe, right? It's that hard edge, they're not too different there in their philosophies. Couch Burner says, dang, I almost forgot to like and sub. Hey, appreciate you for remembering, Couch Burners. Appreciate you, man. Yeah, hit that subscribe button. Be sure and like the video before you guys head out on the YouTube side, whether you're watching live or on the playback. If you didn't get a chance to chat live, you can share your thoughts in the comments section. You guys listen to the audio side, leave us a rating. That helps us out there as well. Appreciate everyone and the good turnout for this stream. Had a lot of fun talking about Jamori Robinson being a top transfer, talking about some of Rich Rod's comments, and then a transfer portal update and a recruiting update there on the basketball side. And pretty excited about this stuff, guys. Pretty excited about this. I think we're going to have some fun updates moving forward here for both football and basketball. Eric Flowers says, and he might get taller, talking about Braden Hawthorne, which is crazy. Already 6'9". Feel like he can play, 4 positions, right? Eric says, feel like we got the money line. He committed here first. He's great now. He'll be scary if he grows another inch or two and gains about 25 pounds. Well said, man. Let's just hope he ends up, doing it at WVU. That's my only worry here, even if we do land him, is that, will we only have him for a year or two? Is that something else we have to worry about? Hopefully not, with him being an in-state guy, but you just never know in today's day and age. But that's something to worry about down the road. Let's just hope we can land him first, because even if we have him for a year or two, hey, at least we had him for a year or two, right? Excuse me, there's my got a little choked up there. But with that being said, that's a great way to end it anyways, with some positive thoughts here on Braden Hawthorne, who we're keeping an eye on, and we'll keep an eye on not Eli Horton, but Orlando Horton Jr. on the basketball side. Eli Horton, I think, was E.J. Horton, the former football receiver, getting some names crossed up there as they both have the same surname. But no, we're keeping an eye on Orlando Horton Jr., a transfer that West Virginia's after. Braden Hawthorne committing tomorrow. We'll see where he lands. Fingers crossed on that one. And then, of course, we'll continue to keep you up to date with transfer portal updates in the football side, as well as maybe they'll add another name or two as they get close to round out that roster for the Rich Rod 2.0 era. And, of course, Ross Hodge trying to do the same on the basketball side. And we'll continue to keep you guys up to date with further updates on both of those sports here, on further live streams and videos here on the Country Roads webcast. Appreciate you guys tuning into this one. Like I said, be sure to head over to magicmind.com. Use that code CRWAPR at checkout. You get that mental performance shot. Get you 48% off your first subscription with the CRW APR code, or 20% off the one-time purchase. And you guys will definitely thank yourself and enjoy that Magic Mind. I can guarantee you that, because I've been thanking myself for doing it ever since I got me some of it, and always thankful to the good folks over there at Magic Mind for the love they've shown us here at the Country Roads webcast, just like we're thankful for you guys that show us love here in the chat, in the comments, on the playback, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch, and on the podcast platform there on the audio side. But looking forward to some positive news here in the future for both the roster for football and basketball, and can't wait to talk about it here. We'll keep it locked. We'll be live here again, most likely tomorrow night. Hopefully it's for positive news on Hawthorne, but either way that lands, we'll have plenty to talk about here in the near future for both sports, and we'll keep you up to date on it here on the Country Roads webcast. As always, I'm Jordan Cruz, and until next time, let's go Mountaineers.